Hello friends, welcome back to the Earthly Delights podcast. Today we have a special guest, Ariana Grindr. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, that's me. That's my name.
What's the crack?
How are you? Thanks for having me on your podcast. This is fun.
I'm really looking forward to this.
Ash, look, what else would you be doing on a lovely sunny Saturday afternoon?
It's a beautiful day to be sitting indoors recording a podcast.
Absolutely. So look, no better women and men to be doing such scandalous thing. What will the neighbours say?
So, first of all, I'd like to ask for you to tell the listeners a bit about yourself.
Alright, well, I am a drag performer from here in Dublin. My drag name is Ariana Grindr. My boy name is Neville, like Neville Longbottom, but the similarities end there. Lol. And so I've been doing this nearly 3 years this Halloween, but I've been performing like my entire life. Like I'm 30 at the end of the month, and like I had my first like performing job when I was 9. I've kind of been doing a lot of like musical theatre and TV and bits and bobs like since. Then I moved to London for a while, trained in musical theatre there, did a few jobs and gigs over there, and then I came home, farted and fell into drag, and just found out I get paid a lot more as a woman than I do as a man, so it kind of just went from there. Like,
interesting. Okay, so when like you're growing up in your teens, it's just that you love performance. Like the idea of drag didn't really interest. Like
never once.
No.
Like I was like, I didn't come out to really late. Well, really late for like nowadays. I was 21. Like I was in a relationship with a girl for 3.5 years.
Oh.
Like blind ignorance. I thought I was like, oh, this is it for me. I love her. This is great. And but then towards the end I was like, oh my god, no, she doesn't have a Mickey. Like Jesus, like what am I gonna, like what the fuck, what's going on? Shit, abort. And then we aborted, and she's dead now. She's dead. She's dead to me. It's kidding. But she looked, the poor girl, and she didn't have a cane and a Labrador. Unfortunately, she wasn't blind. But yeah, like I'd never once had any inkling towards I want to cross dress for a living. At all. I was like, I love performing, I love singing, love dancing, love acting, I'm just going to keep on doing this. And then one Halloween I just dressed up for the laugh, thought I was gas, dressed up as Ariana Grande, had the big like high ponytail and the high boots and like the whole outfit and stuff, thought I was the best thing since sliced bread, thought I was gas. Funniest thing ever, I thought I was the most beautiful woman, cough, in the world, but when I look back at the pictures now, oh my god, it was rough. It was very rough. Like when I compare like where I am at now to then, but you couldn't tell me anything at the time. But yeah, I just did it for the laugh. And then I was like, oh, that's great crack, let's do that on a night out. Grand. I went into Panty Bar, I ended up getting a job there. I ended up staying there for nearly 2 years. And I was just mad to be paid to just stand there. They taught me how to DJ. So that was like another like thing. So since then I've just been doing lots of gigs like festivals and hen parties, birthday parties. Sometimes I DJ, sometimes I sing, sometimes I tell really offensive jokes, etc. But yeah, that's gas. Some of they say like the gender pay gap and stuff, and I get paid more as a lady than I do as a man.
That is interesting. So like your intention was to continue performing as a man, and then you thought, wow, I'm probably going to get paid more if I...
Yeah. Now I still do the odd bits and bobs that come up. Like recently enough, I'm dancing in the new Catherine Tate movie.
Oh, cool.
It's like the Nan. I don't know if you watch Catherine Tate. Like she has a character called Nan, and she has like an origin movie coming out. It was actually supposed to come out like during the summer. Then it was pushed back to October, and then I don't know when it's coming out because of the
cinemas are
pandemic.
Yeah.
But it was literally just like this really small dance role, like in the background. I had to dress up as a soldier in like the 20s, and yeah, I still do random like male jobs, but like just not as frequently as lady stuff.
And now, do you have a preference between one or the other, or?
I have a lot more fun in drag.
Okay.
It's like a costume, like this crazy costume, a kind of a heightened version of me comes out like a persona. Whereas I do prefer being Neville because like it takes 10 minutes to get ready. You jump in the shower and you brush your hair and you're ready to go. Whereas it can take, depending on the job, it can take anywhere between 2, 3, 4 hours, depending on what it is. Like if it's for telly, I'll spend the extra time on it, but if it's just like a random bar or random. If you're listening to this and you booked me for your birthday party or your head party, I'm sorry, it took 20 minutes. No, I'm joking. No, but you know what I mean. Like, there's different effort levels. Like, if there's certain things where like you're going to be in a certain type of lighting, you can get away with a lot more and do a lot different. But like, if it's
fluorescent light,
and then like high definition cameras are coming in, you're like, no,
yeah.
Here we go. We're going to spend the extra time on it so we don't look like a cross-dresser.
Okay. And for people who are listening who really don't know that much, like, how would you describe, like, what is a drag queen?
So basically, like, when I think of drag queen, like, when I was smaller, I think of, like, going to the panto, like, Lily Savage, but, like, a drag queen is literally, like, RuPaul is probably the most famous drag queen in the world. He does, like, RuPaul's Drag Race and stuff, and everything else at the moment, and he says you're born naked and the rest is drag. So like, we're all sitting here in our drag, like, it's whatever you get up and throw on. Like, I subconsciously wanted to project this image to the world today of whatever I'm wearing, this tracksuit bottoms and these shoes and this cap and this t-shirt, and what you're wearing, you put this on, whether you subconsciously made a decision, maybe not today, but when you bought it, like, oh, this is going to look cool on me, and for whatever reason, to make yourself feel better or to influence other people or whatever their perception of you, everything you put on your body, whether it's for a boy, for a girl, for if it's a Halloween costume, it's your drag per se. So they say, that's what RuPaul says, you're born naked and the rest is drag. But like, drag has been around since like the beginning of time. Like, Mrs. Brown is probably now our most famous drag queen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's a straight man, and he's happily married to a woman, and he's a multi-million, probably our richest like drag queen in the country. And when you think of it, and it's predominantly seen taken up by the gay boys, but not limited to, because you have women doing it now, and you have drag kings, like women dressing up as men, and all of that mess. But what I do is I throw on a corset, massive hip pads, big boobs, throw on a big face, glue up my eyebrows, draw on a completely different face, a complete transformation, big hair, and go out. I'll sing a few songs, tell a few terrible jokes, take the piss out of everyone, and that's what my drag per se persona would be.
Okay.
But everyone's different.
It's funny, that definition of drag is interesting, because I heard several people say something like, we're all unpaid actors. In that,
getting very deep on the side.
It's well, like,
yeah, no, I get you.
You know, and that maybe if you had you think, oh, drag is if you just dress up extravagantly and do this and do that, but maybe, like you said, like, we're actually just doing some sort of acting that is more socially acceptable, or that doesn't. I'm
in my pedestrian drag today. Quite pedestrian. It's like, it doesn't have to be like mad and out there. It's literally just whatever you want. Sure, some of them are getting away. Some of the drags are getting away with wearing absolute shite. Like if you're listening to this, I'm not going to mention any names, because her name is Dillatrix and she works in the George. No, I'm only messing. That's my friend. We always bully each other. No, but like, do you know what I mean? It's whatever you want it to be. It's open to artistic interpretation, and sometimes you're just lazy and you pretend it's artistic interpretation. Oh no, I wanted to wear an extra long jumper and a pair of shoes. No, I was just a lazy cunt and I didn't want to get rid of it. God, I forgot to ask if we allowed course on this.
Well, cunts are allowed.
Okay, that's allowed. Yeah. But we draw the line out. Anything else?
Actually, if I remember correctly, Seb has started to do beeps.
Oh, very nice.
So you might.
Come on, budget. Let me test that. Fuckity cunty. Flaps minge. Sorry, Seb.
Seb's gonna have fun doing the editing.
Sorry. Thank you. Don't hate me.
I want to ask, what are common misconceptions about drag?
Oh god, okay. Like, it's not all, like, I don't want to like pigeonhole it, but like, it's not all just light and frothy and taking the piss and like getting locked and having a great time. Like, drag is in itself, like, it's a political act.
Okay.
It's not very as obvious now, but like back in the day, like like in my lifetime, I was born in 90, like, homosexuality in Ireland wasn't decriminalised until 1993. We only got the right to marry like 5 years ago. So like, drag queens back that were going around, and some of them that were going around before I was even born are still going around now and working to this day, but like, they'd get a lot of flack for getting into drag and stuff thrown at them and things said to them, and like, because like they were literally illegal, like, and it was very, very taboo. And even like when I first started drag, I was a bit like, oh god, I don't want to do that, like maybe like, what is everyone going to say, XYZ, am I going to get a hard time over? And this was like in what, 2000 and god knows what, this was 3 years ago, 2017, when it was already mainstream. It was all over Netflix, people were being celebrated for it. But like, I was like, oh god, like, I have so much respect for those older drag queens. Now some of them were a load of shite, and they're probably only successful because they had no competition back in the day, because everyone else was afraid to do it, to be fair. But some of them are really good. I'm not going to name names because Stillatrix works in the church. I'm only no, but some of them are shy, to be fair. But look, that's their own prerogative. But even though they are shy, we respect them because they paved the way. But some of them, I will say, some of them are really, really good. Because if you're listening, you just imagine you're the really good one that I'm talking about, and you're not the shy one that I'm referencing. Oh god, I get easily distracted. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, so drag in itself is it is a political act, because it was kind of like, it was like, no, it was a big like fuck you to like societal norms. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go out wearing a pair of knickers and a dress and a wig, and I don't give a shite. And I find like a lot of drag queens, and like if you go through like their social media and stuff, they're all like on the forefront of like trying to get equal rights for everyone, like transgender people now, a lot of gay people. Now we don't have 100% like equal rights. There's still things like kids and all that messing, and eggs and surrogates and birth certs and stuff like that. They're still trying to work out. But a lot of like trans people, especially in America, well, actually closer to home in Ireland, it's still a struggle for them. But in America, like especially like under the Trump administration, they've had like protections after protections, like stripped back, and lots of like funding pulled, and it's not great for them. So a lot of drag queens will be fighting on the forefront of fighting like for that. It's because of transgender people that gay people have like equal rights, or well, the version of equal rights that we currently enjoy, because like the gay rights movement started because of those like the Stonewall riots. Similarly to when you have everyone giving out about the Black Lives Matter riots, like, oh, like, no, nothing will ever come from riots and wrecking the place. Well, actually, that's how I got my rights. I have equal rights in Ireland today as a knock-on effect of what happened at Stonewall in America all of those years ago, where they were just like, no, fuck this. Like, they just started wrecking the place and beating the shit out of everyone, and then eventually they were recognised as equal citizens. And yeah, so there you go. So everyone keep breaking things and shit, and eventually you'll get your way. There's a lesson in that.
You mentioned something interesting, I thought, where even
me? I said something interesting? It's not like me at all, right, Jesus.
Maybe interesting's the wrong word. No, you said that even though it was still common, you said 3 years ago, or it was still, or like mainstream, or getting into the mainstream, you still found it difficult, or you're still questioning. Do you think that process has like taught you more about yourself?
Ooh. I never never thought of that before. No, I actually haven't really. Yeah, I guess so, because at the time I was very conscious of, oh god, what are mum and dad gonna say? What, so like, not so more so my friends, because I was like, oh Jesus, I put them through so much, but everything I've done over the years, like, this is gonna be nothing. But it was more so my mum and dad, like, living at home, like, is it gonna be easy? And at first they didn't really get it. They were like, what is this? Why are you doing that? And then it was kind of when they just started seeing all the kind of jobs I started doing, and the money I was taking in, they were like, makes sense. And now, like, my dad would be quite supportive. Like, he'd like drives me to gigs, and my mum would be like picking me up bits, saying like, oh, I saw this, and like, that's nice. Do you know what I mean? Or like, for example, I did an online streaming gig there a few days ago, and I was setting everything up in my room. I did like a Little Mermaid theme. I was dressed up as Little Mermaid, and I was on these Heelys flying around, and I was rehearsing on the Heelys in this Little Mermaid skirt, and I was like, I could hardly move. My little legs were going 90, like, and I was like bearded man from like the neck up, and a full voluptuous woman in bra, like corset and knickers, and the mermaid tail and Heelys going around my front room with all of these inflatable like fucking fishing crabs and stuff from the film. My mum just walked in, bat an eyelid. Oh, you look nice, love. And it was just a real like full circle moment, and I was just like, it was just like another day at the office. We're like, what's this now we're doing today? Like, it was just like our new normal. Like, Neville's up to something again.
As in, and 3 years ago.
It was totally different. It was just like, but why? Like, and then like I'd be going on nights out as in drag just because I wanted to network then, and like I don't smoke, but I'd spend the night in the smoking area just like trying to network with people. Like, oh, you're on Instagram, I'm on Instagram, let's follow each other. And then I've gotten so many gigs and stuff like that, but like at first they were like, oh god, like you're never going to like settle down, you're never going to find a man if you're going out and drag all the time. Well, sure, look, I found plenty. They just weren't gay, dear. And it's gas. I probably attract more straight quote unquote men than I do gay men at this point. You get so many, like, you know, like when you're on Instagram, you have like your message requests from, oh god, it's like the Wild Wild West. If you're a drag queen and you're listening to this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's 70% men that are either married or in relationships and have children, and they're like, they don't follow you or anything. I don't know how they find me, but they find me. And the other 30% then is, oh, I have a gig, or I have a hen party, or I have someone's getting married, or someone's birthday. I had a gig where I thought I was singing for this man's surprise birthday. Well, it would have been a terrible fucking surprise, me showing up to sing you a song on your 30th birthday. But no, she told me outside I was actually the stripper. She told her boyfriend that she'd gotten him a stripper, but I was the stripper, but I only found out 5 minutes before. She's like, I understand if you don't want to do it. And I was like, fuck it, give me a drink. And I went and I gave him a lap dance, but he had a blindfold on, and he whipped it off. He nearly had a heart attack, but he thought it was gas. We ended up having a great session. That was out in Drogheda. It's another Wild Wild West. What sounded that night.
Shout out to our friends in Drogheda.
Absolutely, you're bad, Drogheda. Get me out there again. The money's good, Drogheda. Jesus, they must have got like fucking gold mines in Drogheda. They're sitting on some money. I won't tell you where I think they got it from, because I think we all know. Say no more about it.
You mentioned something that I wanted to ask about. Is it difficult to date as a drag?
Oh yeah, 100%. It can be. I guess so easily distracted. I totally forgot to finish that point. It is and it isn't. Like at first, I would take it to heart, where it was very like, as soon as they find out I do drag, it's kind of like the conversation stalls, and you kind of just see the light go out in their eyes, or like when you're texting, the conversation goes dry, and they just can't differentiate the fact that it's just a job, or it's just something that you enjoy, or whatever reason you're doing it for. You know, like I do enjoy it. It is a job to me, and I do enjoy it. But it's like any job. Like I love what I do, but at the same time, you do get to the stage you don't want to go to work, and you have a headache. And the worst thing, any of the ladies listening, you're like dabbing your head with a sponge, and you have a migraine because you're still mad out of it from the night before, and your head's spinning, your jaw might be going 90, but you're smacking a sponge into your head, and it's the most painful thing. But I do love it, but at the same time, it's Neville, and then it's this job, this character that I enjoy playing. But a lot of people can't like differentiate between that, and I kind of struggled with that at first. It's like, oh god, like, but I kind of just was like, you know, fuck. I got to a point where I did become successful enough where like I'd be on my dating apps or whatever, and people would be like, oh my god, are you Ariana? And I'm like, oh for fuck's sake. I kind of preferred it when they didn't like me, because then you're like, oh god, like, gee, yeah, I am, and then they start saying like some of the stupid things that I say on my Instagram stories back to me and stuff like, oh that's great, thanks, but I'm actually looking for a Mickey, so if you don't mind. Which is nice in a way, but it's gas, like the amount of times, and I hate, like, I'll go on the record and say I've never been with anyone while I was like in drag, but that would be a lie. I'm either locked and it's always a straight man.
Yeah. And
it's on the way home. Someone's like, oh hey young one, you alright? And then they're like, oh do you want to go on a date? It's like, no, but like I'm a fella. Yeah, I know, but would you get dressed up and all, we'll go on a date? And I'm like, no. Like, it took me 2-3 hours to get ready. I'm not doing this to go out for a dinner and a drink and whatever. And I don't like getting intimate with people, like, because it's like a fucking party clown. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Drag is uncomfortable. Your corset in, your waist is in bits, your balls are sometimes in your stomach, depending on the costume. You've hair growing back. If it's 3-4 in the morning, like your 5 o'clock shadow coming back, and you're hoping everyone's drunk enough not to notice, and hopefully it's hidden under the lipstick. You're like, do you know what I mean? It's uncomfortable. You're in these shoes, little And like I'm size 10.5, 11. It's hard to get shoes, so a lot of my shoes are nearly too small for me. So little numb claws in my shoes. I'm like, no, like this is not comfortable. And even if it was, fuck that. No, like I'm a bloke. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna enjoy like whatever you're into. We don't kink shame here. Like you do what you want to do, but it won't be me. But I do know girls who do get dolled up. Well, boys, I mean, who do get dolled up and go out to fellas and stuff, and straight fellas and all sorts, and sugar daddies and the rest. And now it wouldn't be for me. But look. Check and get your coins.
No king shaming here.
That's your own business.
You mentioned another thing that I wanted to talk about.
I'm sure I did. I'm so sorry. Like, just remind me because I get easily distracted.
No, you mentioned, you might have.
Hang on, you forgot to press record. No,
now you're making me paranoid. You're making me look bad.
Sorry.
No, you mentioned. You might be having a migraine and putting the makeup on and dabbing something on your head, and then like you might have had a rough night the night before, etc., etc. I was wondering, do you think it's quite a difficult community / lifestyle to live if you want some kind of like mental peace of mind or like stability?
Yeah, of course. Like a lot of the jobs are nighttime jobs. Like you could be lucky and do like, because I do work with an agency, Drag Queens Ireland, and I'm quite lucky because there's like hen parties sent by before the pandemic anyway, and please got after. It's a lot of hen parties and birthday parties, and they're over at a certain time, and you can go home if you want to go to bed at 11. You can, or 12. You can. But the vast 80% of the jobs are in nightclubs or in bars. You're getting home at 4 o'clock in the morning. You're getting home at 5. You're having a drink. They always give you a drink on the job. You have a bottle of vodka in your handbag. So if you're not a drinker, it's very difficult. Or like a lot of, I'm not going to say the majority or a lot of, but like alcoholism is a problem in the drag community, and you see a lot of it if you're watching the likes of RuPaul's Drag Race. They talk about it in some of their storylines and like depression and stuff like that. And alcohol is a coping mechanism, and because you're in a nightclub, your workspace, you're encouraged to drink. You're the life, quote unquote, you're the life and soul of the party. People are looking at you to be fun, and if you're not fun and buzzing and in great form, like it could reflect your pay, it could reflect your tips, it could reflect, are they going to get you back again? Are you bringing a good enough bus? So yeah, it's just the kind of like pressure. Like, I better be on good form tonight. Like, I'll have a few drinks, but like I enjoy a few drinks while I'm getting. Like sometimes I don't drink all the time when I'm working. Because sometimes you could be working 3 nights a week. Sometimes it's 2 nights a week. Sometimes it's 4 nights a week. On those you wouldn't, like it's unrealistic. Because like there's been times where I'd work 3 jobs in the one day. I remember one time I did a hen party at 11 in the morning. It was these girls. It was just makeup. I had to get into drag like 7 in the morning, go to their house, put makeup on all them and lashes and get them ready for their day. Grand, buzzed over, sang a few songs and played a few games, a birthday party in a hotel in town. Then I jumped on the Wanderly wagon to Drogheda to that fateful night, and then they put me up in a hotel that night. But that was a really long day for me, and it was great because on a day like that I can make a week's wages in a day of what I would have done in my old like day job that I used to work in an office, but I gave that up because it was just too lucrative. And I was getting up at 6 in the morning for work, still in bits after going to bed at 4, like still in full makeup, like showing up to work, like who is this woman? Who is this bearded lady? But no, like it can be difficult because you're living from night to night and club to club, and it is uncomfortable, and you're seeing everyone have a great time and meet people, and you are enjoying it, but like you can be a participant, or you're either a participant or you're like watching it. Do you know what I mean? Watching it unfold, and then everyone goes home, then you go back and then you do it again, and then it's just I wouldn't advise anyone to drink so much at work. Also, all the like, do you know, every time you work, because then you're kind of like associating work with drink, and it is a problem for so many people, whether they want to believe it or not. Like, you could turn around and be like, oh God, what other job do you go to where you're encouraged to drink? Do you know what I mean?
I can only think of like a comedian.
This is it. I'd say it's very similar. And then that's the whole Irish thing. If you're not drinking, are you all right?
Yeah, something wrong. Like,
are you pregnant? Oh yeah, I think I'm pregnant. It's a shy. Abort. Are you having a boy or girl or an abortion? It was the number 3. No, but like, do you know what I mean? It's like, are you sick? Are you on tablets? Like, it's real. Like, oh God, everyone, you're supposed to be like turned on all the time. But yeah, I would say it is a bit of a it can be a bit of an ish.
And do you think that, for instance, the drag community in Dublin or in Ireland generally is quite supportive? So, like, when you entered in it a few years ago, did you feel like welcome with open arms, or was there a bit of kind of...
Well, now we're getting into the juicy stuff.
No, I don't want... It's not like I want gossip or anything. I was just wondering...
Well, first of all, Dillatrix was an absolute bitch. No, but like...
Dillatrix is banned from the podcast.
Fuck you, Dillatrix. I gave you everything. She's actually really nice.
No, we're not.
I think that's why I get away with like dragging her for everything, because she actually is nice, so I don't feel bad. No, but yes and no. I feel like the older ones are very willing to give you a shot and to give you a chance. Like in Dublin, especially, like the types like the George and those big clubs and stuff, they operate on, you get paid in drink tokens.
Really?
Yeah, like, so you get paid free drink tokens to show up and do your work for, and like you probably spend 2-3 hours doing your makeup, and then you're on your feet for the night. Now you have your nagging in your handbag, but like, it's not payment. Now I was lucky that I farted and fell into that job in Panty Bar, because that was actually really well paid. So when opportunities did arise in the George, I was a bit like, oh no, I'm alright, I'm grand where I am, because I'm actually getting paid a good wage here. And but it's a great opportunity for people who don't perform and who aren't born performers, and they want to try drag and they want to give it a go, or even like for a night out. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I'm going to get into drag and have a night out, and they're going to give me 2 free drinks. Brilliant. It's great for them. But like, from my perspective, I'm like, oh god, well, I've been performing like professionally since I was 9.
Yeah. And
I've been getting paid good enough money steadily since then to perform, and now I have to spend an extra 2 hours getting ready, and I have to do it in a corset and heels and a wig and a dress, and the like probability of not getting hate crimed on the street, and I'm not going to get paid for it. I'm like, no, like, I won't get paid double. And so, but the older drags, they can be quite welcoming and give you a shot, like they can be, but I feel it's the younger ones, the up and coming,
that's where there's rivalry.
Oh god, yeah. They were ridiculous when I started. I remember it now. To be fair to them, I would have been fucking pissed off too, because not to blow smoke up my own hole, like, I was a professional performer. I went to London, I had my little stint on the West End, and then I did all of that as a boy, and now I just do it in a pair of shoes. So like, I could see how people would be threatened by that, because if they're not, oh, you might be the best makeup artist in the world, but you probably have no stage presence and you can't dance XYZ. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I always had an advantage over the rest of them, no matter what my makeup talent was. And then I went and I did a makeup course, and everything else kind of just came together then. But yeah, when I first started, people would be like, how did you get that job in Panty Bar? What did you do? Who did you do? XYZ. Rumours going around. Remember one time I was at Sunday Social with Farrier and Draper on a Sunday, and there was these drag queens just like, oh, of course you got that job. So my drag mothers, so they do like just drag families, so Panty Bliss and Dizzy Dying for are my 2 drag mothers.
Okay. And so sorry, these are 2
drag queens.
So sorry, just for people who are not familiar.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Panty Bar and what's the other bar?
The George.
And the George you're like the founding bars.
Yeah, like more so like the George. Like, I don't really work in the George because they don't pay, but I will eventually. We'll get to that. But I usually just show up where I'm paid. But we're working on that.
Okay.
Yeah. So Panty Bar is owned by Panty Bliss, who's like has this documentary called The Queen of Ireland. It's really good. It's all about like the marriage referendum and stuff. And then Dizzy Dying for it was on this TV show called My Yellow Brick Road on Virgin Media, I want to say. But yeah, they're really nice, and they taught me how to do drag and stuff. Gave me a job. Can't complain. But anyway, these drag queens came up to me in the bar, these younger drags. I've been doing this for 10 years and I haven't gone anywhere, and you farted and fell into this job, and you'd know you were their drag daughter, the fucking state of you tried to reef the wig off me head and all, and they were taking it aside, and the bar staff were giving me drinks and stuff. Yeah, alright love. And then there was like tears and handbags of Dawn. It was murder. All these 7-foot cross-dressing men killing each other, fucking killing each other over gigs. Like,
do you think there's an excess in drama because a lot of the persona expected of a drag is like super confident, super like arrogant? Do you think that leads into kind of how do I say, insecurity maybe, or
maybe yeah. Like, I feel like, and to be quite honest, I feel like some of them only do drag so they can get away with being an absolute cunt to people and acting out, and like they feel like they can sit there and talk absolute shite and drag people down and do whatever they want because they have the confidence because they're all done up. And I'm like, no, first of all, love, you're a terrible drag queen.
Yeah.
And second of all, don't be fucking mean.
Yeah,
like, do you know what I mean? But sure, I'd never say that to anyone. That's an internal monologue. I don't engage in any of that messing.
Okay.
Too booked, too blessed. And I, like, my thing when I first started, I pretend to be nice. Not that I'm not nice, but like people would sit there and bitch and moan about X, Y, and Z. I'm like, you don't know how well I know that person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, there's a drag queen, a really successful drag queen that I went to school with, and one of the first gigs I ever did, these two younger drag queens were like, such and such is such a bitch, such and such is such a cunt, I hate such and such to fucking stay where she's terrible. Little did they know I literally went to school with this person, and weeks later they were doing this competition, contestants in their fucking drag competition, licking this person's hole, like hoping to win this competition. And I was like, you don't know that I went to school with this person and I know them very well. Now, it wouldn't be like me to shitstorm, but I called them straight away. No, I'm kidding, I didn't. No, but you know what I mean. So my mantra is pretend to be nice. Even like if they're cunt, at least that way when word gets around, like, oh, what was Ariana like to work with? Oh, she was so nice. She wasn't. She went home and she bitched to all of her mates that aren't drag queens about everything that happened, and I got it off my chest then and had a drink with my pals. But as far as they were concerned, I was really nice and easy to work with. Okay. But yeah, I feel like a lot of them just use the facade to just
the art form,
yeah,
to
get away with fucking murder and throw their weight around. And some of them have a lot of weight to throw around. That's their own business.
A two-part question then.
Come on, two-part question.
One, do you think people not involved specifically in the industry or the art form maybe have a kind of glitter covered notion of drag, maybe from watching RuPaul or something? And two, I wanted to ask, you mentioned like the hate crime or the possibility of hate crime, and have you noticed an improvement in the situation as like RuPaul has just blown up?
Yeah, so I had to remember the first. Yes, okay. The first question.
Sorry,
I was like, so the first question. Yeah, maybe so. Like, I don't really know I kind of just know like my perception of it. There is like a whole like glamour, real zhuzh, showbiz aspect of it, but like all kind of like showbizy type things, there is that like dark side of it. And but to be fair, like to Drag Race, because it is like a reality TV show, they do go in with the storyline. So like one of them was like left at a bus stop when they were a kid, and then another one was like is diagnosed with HIV, and then another one was like suicidal, and they do kind of explore. To be fair to Drag Race, they kind of do get those type of things right. They do investigate that type of thing, but then there is the whole lip syncing and performance aspect, so it's a bit of yin and yang. So it is kind of like that, but the one thing that Drag Race doesn't really represent is that there is so much more to drag than just what's shown on the telly. Okay. Like there's I won't want to say awful drag queens. Like they're also polished and perfect looking on the telly. Not all of the best drag queens look like that. Mm-hmm. If you know what I mean. Like you could pay the best makeup artist in the world to make you look like Tyra Banks, but like if you've no personality and you've no stage presence and you're not good to people or easy to work with or you're just insufferable, like there's no bar or TV show in the world that will want to book you. Whereas there are some fabulous queens with lovely personalities and you'd have such a great crack with them on a night out that don't look as polished and perfect as the ones on the telly. So it's kind of like a yin and yang thing.
Okay.
You do get a good aspect of it, but there's so much more to it than that.
I get you.
And then second of all, I feel like I'm more inclined to get hate crimed as Neville than I am as Ariana. Really? Yeah, it's crazy. Because I find the times like walking through like the city centre with my ex-boyfriend, there was times where people just roaring at me in the street because we're holding hands. Or like one time I was walking past O'Connell Street and one fella literally just put me on the ground, just walking back, minding my own business, didn't say anything to him, didn't even look at him, put me on the ground, you fucking faggot, this, X, Y, and Z, just because me and my fella were holding hands walking down the street. Now, I've been lucky enough that nothing like that has ever happened when I'm in drag. And to be fair, I was kind of expecting it to. I won't say I was working in a straight club one Pride, and there was a lot of kind of sketchy characters coming in. And I was like, oh, here we fucking go. If it's the night to get hate, and I'd only just started drag, so like if I'm gonna be hate crimed, tonight is the night I'm gonna get hate crimed. But like you'd be surprised the amount of fellas like, oh, you on Instagram, and I'm like, and they're sliding into your DMs then, and you're like straight fellas, like real butch lads. But I find I'd be more afraid holding a guy's hand walking down the street than walking by myself in drag, because on the flip side, fellas are like, oh, how are you, love? You alright? Either making a joke out of it or trying to get into you.
Literally.
I've been quite lucky. Now, saying that, like, not everyone has had that experience. It is dangerous. Like, you should exercise vigilance. I should probably be a bit more vigilant. But I've been quite lucky, but I find I'm more likely to get hate crimes as me, as I am, than I am as Ariana.
What do you think that says about where we're at?
Yeah, I know it's not great, but like it's a step ahead of where we were when I was 3 years old, when I was an illegal alien. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like 5 years ago when I couldn't get married. So like it's a load of me whole, but it's going in the right direction. And I like to think, whether I'm right, wrong, or indifferent, I like to think that it's going to be bred out of us eventually. I know it's not only the older people, but I like to think that all of these like racists and bigots and homophobes and transphobes are the older generation, and at some point they're going to be brown bread, and we'll be left with the rest of us, and our children and our children's children who are brought up right with nice values, and they'll be the filthy majority, the 80-90% that's going to keep the country in check. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to see that when I'm an older lady, that all of that intolerance will be bred out.
I hope so too.
One can hope.
Yeah. Do you think that one of the roadblocks, besides like maybe presuming that a lot of the bigotry or racism is out older generations, do you think partially one of the problems is that maybe straight people don't even branch out or like tend to hear perspective from a gay person? Or
I don't know. I think a lot of it is to do with, and I hate it, like it's such
catch-all phrase.
Yeah, like one of those hallmarks for like toxic masculinity. But you know, like when you're in school and people are just like, oh, you fucking faggot. And like I remember people in school, I didn't even know what it was at that point in time. I was like, what the fuck is a faggot? Like I don't want to be a faggot. Jesus Christ, that sounds awful. They're saying it in such a mean way. Oh my god, I definitely don't want to be one of them. There's a whole thing, but they're kind of like trying to deflect from maybe their own insecurity and trying to distract. Oh, let's pick on that little because, and do you know what I mean? It's very like, and I feel like men, especially in this country, especially like with their mental health, and like the church, and not just the men, it's the women as well. Like the church have a lot to answer for in this country with what they did to the women as well as the men in different ways, and some of the same, but in many different ways. But I do find that like the way men are just like suppress their feelings, their emotions, like you see like when so many people are put out of their homes and stuff, like men, like you hear men killing themselves and stuff because of the guilt. They're supposed to be they're brought up to be the hunter-gatherer and to look after their family. They feel like they've failed their family. Like, what? Who the fuck said that? Like, no, calm the fuck down. We're all in this together. Sorry to quote High School Musical in such a very grim subject, but you know what I mean. I think that does have an awful lot to answer for, and they obviously learned that from a parent or a brother or someone else, and that lad mentality that was kind of just passed around, and I feel like that's where it came from. Like, and now like I'm like, oh, you know, I definitely am a faggot. I love it. Like we like the word has been very much so reclaimed.
Okay, cool.
And I'd say like, oh yeah, what are you doing? Oh, me and a few of my faggots are going to go out and have a little dance and a kiki and a drink, and we'll see where the night takes us now. But if someone came to me and said it in the street, like, here fucking you, reefs and streels. No, I wouldn't, because I don't, because I'm a little wimp and I don't want to murder. But I would be like, fuck off.
Yeah.
You can't fucking say that to me. But you know, I do feel like a lot of it is to do with like toxic masculinity and the fact that like men suppress everything and don't really show a lot of emotion, and it's just a rigmarole. I love that word. A rigmarole.
That's a great word.
Of all of that. Don't ask me to spell it.
Do you think that your early introduction to drama, to like this form of expression, has really helped you become like the man you are today, isn't in terms of your gay identity?
Yeah, 100%. And even not so like my gay identity, just like my work ethic. I find like I started like going to like classes when I was like 9 and doing like small acting jobs and dance jobs and stuff, and I did a lot of like telly and theatre when I was younger as well. And it was just like the discipline that I learned at that today when I'm in a room with people and they're not on the same like wavelength, I can tell straight away. I'm just like, I can't work with these people. Like I have to, but in my head I'm like, how am I going to last in a room with these people? Like for like every Tuesday I had to be at this class at such and such a time. If you weren't there on time or if you weren't wearing the right costume, you weren't allowed in. Okay. Tuesdays, Saturdays, whatever. And even when I went to London, it was 10 times worse. Like we'd be doing like, I did like ballet like for 2 hours Monday to Friday. All of these other classes, if you didn't have the right thing, like you were scolded in front of the whole school. Like there was weigh-ins every week. If you were too much up or too much down, it was addressed in front of everyone. Which probably isn't the best type of thing, but when you're in like a dance college in London, that's the reality, or well, it was the reality at the time anyway. I don't know if they've changed. But I feel like it has shaped me to be a lot more like professional and have more respect for like myself and other people, like that I'm going to be there at a certain time when I said I'm going to be there, and other people swanning around not showing up to rehearsals, and I'm like, no, then you can't do it. Like I remember I was doing a gig there last November in Liberty Hall, and I won't mention any names because her name is Dame Stuffy. No, and no, it was her show to be fair, but there was a queen involved and we were doing a group number and said there was 4 rehearsals and she didn't show up to any of them. Oh, I'll just show up on the night. And I was like, she will not. Like we showed up to every rehearsal, we put hours of work in. I'll pick up the choreography on a video. I was like, no, it's not fair on the rest of us. She's not. There was a gown hired and I was like, I'm not going on stage with someone who didn't have the respect to show up to the rehearsal, put the work in like the rest of us, and then she'll make a balls but make the rest of us look bad. I'm sorry, I'm a trained dancer and I couldn't do that. Just show up and watch it on a video and pull it out with me whole. Now I probably could, but this person isn't a trained dancer. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, no, fuck that. And it's just stuff like that has shaped me as a person. And I'm not even like on a professional level, but just like stupid things like being on time for things or working with people and not killing each other, seeing different people's point of view. Like I'm not going to jump down someone's throat just because, but like find a way to get on and get the task done, or put up with each other while you have to be around each other, kind of a thing. You know, like you're always in close proximity with people, not always that you don't like or necessarily see eye to eye with, but you find a way to coexist peacefully until you can go home and bitch about them. But I feel like that like performance taught me that.
Did you also get the sense that you kind of like lost yourself while performing? Like you know, like I think many of us are like burdened by what like our thoughts and what we're going through on a daily basis, and that we need some sort of way, like I don't know, exercising or like going out to nature or meditating or whatever, like a way of which that we can kind of just step away from that. Do you think that happened for you? Like was there just you just immerse yourself in the performance?
As in like an escape type of thing?
Yeah, but not like a conscious thing, but you just really enjoyed the kind of freedom that you...
Yeah, like I did like enjoy, like when I was younger, like I just used to enjoy going to my classes, you see my little pals, getting to dance. Like it wasn't like, oh I need to get... But like obviously there was the endorphins released through exercise, but I enjoyed the performance aspect more so when I did shows. Like I used to do like the Olympia pantos and musicals like in the Olympia and stuff. I preferred being on the stage and the thrill and the buzz you would get from the performance more so than sweating it out in rehearsals and stuff. But like they say, like when we were in like dance college in London, they say technique is freedom. So the better your technique is, the more you can actually perform, and the more your body has the capabilities of doing everything that's like going on in your head and the way you feel and the feelings you want to emote. You're more like equipped. So the harder you do train and go to these classes and throw yourself into it, the better that result is going to be. And in turn for me, that's the payoff I get. That's like when I'm singing into a microphone to a room full of people and everyone's just hanging on your every word, or talking shite, or saying things like slagging Dillatrix to anyone who listens to me, giving her screen time, you're very welcome. People know who you are now, but you know what I mean? Or like doing a dance routine or whatever. You have those people's attention for that amount of time, and it's a great feeling.
Is it tough then to deal with the immediate come down?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's insane. Like it's like I can't just go home to bed and like I'm like, oh my god. Like usually nowadays, because it's like Instagram and stuff, usually after a show and if it's home time and I just go, and I'm not going out club, and like, I'll jump on Instagram live and talk shite to people, or I'll sing a few songs.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, the party's never, like I'm like, it's just like, oh god, I'm like a session mom. I just don't want to go home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, fuck this though. Why let's go home and I'll sing a few songs on Instagram and bully whoever comes into the chat. But yeah, it is very like that, like winding down, like taking your makeup off and having a wash and getting, like sometimes it's nice, and like my old party trick was, I tried to not do it as much, I'd order Domino's on the app as I got into the taxi and I'd race it home. Okay. So, and sometimes, most of the time I get there first, but sometimes they're very fucking quick. And I remember one time the car came down, the taxi came and the driver came down the other way, and we met in the street. He was this big 7 foot, like 5 o'clock shadow man in a wig and a dress coming out at all hours of the morning to collect the pizza. But no, that was kind of like my little wind down, and I'd watch telly eating my pizza and then have a wash and go to bed. But yeah, no, definitely. And then, because I do, actually the very last performance I did before we went into lockdown again, because I was doing this thing called the Queer Cabaret in Bow Lane. Okay. It's a monthly show we do, and I recently joined that cast, and they were all really nice and really sound. But the last performance we did, I just really enjoyed it. I did this mix and a song I really liked, and I sang and I was dancing, and I had so much fun, and the crowd were so good. And then I just went into the backstage area and I sat down and I was like, oh, that's it, I'm kind of a bit raging now, can I not go out and do it again? And I was just like, oh fuck that, and anyways I'm gonna have a drink. I was raging. It was all like, it was over, like,
because that's what you hear a lot from performers, is that they struggle to deal with that process of just being so high, connecting with other people, and then just going, oh no, you have to go home now.
Yeah.
It's like, how can I go home now?
And it was like a cast of like 5 or 6 of us, so it was like I did my bit and I sat and I was done, but then everyone else was still waiting, and the excitement, I was like, oh, I hate this. I was like, let me go on again. Rip my pearls off and throw them across the ground. Someone trips and breaks their ankles.
Do you ever like be on the bus or just doing something during the day as Neville, and then get a real Ariana Grindr like thought or like urge, or vice versa? Would you ever be Ariana Grindr and then just feel like, I'm a bit Neville today, like I'm a bit,
I don't know, like I don't, like, it's very, like I should probably know at this point. I'm 3 years in to know if Ariana and Neville are the same or different. I feel like Ariana is just like a heightened version of me. Okay. I can get away with saying a lot more inappropriate things because like if I start making jokes about ISIS and Madeleine McCann, sometimes the room goes very quiet. But if you're 7 foot, like if I'm already making, like if you're looking at me and I'm already obviously making a laugh of myself, like this person is here to tell, like I'm a party clown, people are very open to what you're gonna say to them. So
that's interesting. So people are like more tolerant of like you
like,
saying
this person, it's kind of like, you know, like when the village idiot says something and you're like, poor old Timmy, okay, like, oh God bless him. I think that's what it's probably, but like it's like, oh, here, what's she gonna say? And people want you to slag them, like, here, fucking you, stop looking at me. Like obviously the straight men with their girlfriends, so get his hands off me, a dirty pervert, I'll see you later and all. But they love getting the piss taken out of them. So the worst you can make is like, Jesus, let's say you look better in a dress than I do, you dirty bitch, and all this messing up. But they think it's gas, and they kind of want you to rip on them then. Okay. And they enjoy it. Whereas if I were to say that, to just randomly say that to a man in a bar, you're getting a dig, do you know what I mean? Whereas they kind of want you to like take the piss out of them when you're all done up. But like, sometimes I suppose like if I'm on the bus and I get an idea for a new number, I'm like, I get really excited and I like listen to the song and I'll try to find a backing track and I'm like singing along. And like I do get really excited, but it's not really like, oh, I'm Ariana. It's just like, I'm gonna have more attention on me. Yes. Yeah. It's very self-serving. I'm doing it for the fans. No, I'm doing it. But to be fair,
you're doing it for the culture.
This is it. I'm doing it for like, and the little gay babies. Thinking of the gay babies, and not even like But you know what I mean? Like, they're looking out there. They don't like. They're getting a lot more representation now of people to look like. When I was younger, there wasn't a lot of people I could look up and be like, oh, I want to be like that. There was never people I saw like me on the telly per se. I think the first person really was like, what's his name, Brian Dowland, that was on Big Brother. Yeah. But like, I didn't really watch that, so there wasn't really like, I was kind of too young to watch that. So there was always just like straight couples on telly, straight men. There was never out gay characters for me to like, oh, maybe I'm gay. Like, I just always assumed I was straight because there was no other way to be. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh, I better go get a girlfriend now because that's what everyone else seems to be doing. That seems to be the natural progression. And then I did, and then I tried that out, and I was like, all right, Grant, this is not for me at all. But I like that I get to do what I do, and people see it. And whether you know they've seen it, like, there's people that aren't even. I'm sure there's people that look at my Instagram that are even afraid to follow me. Just because they're like, oh yeah, look, she's a drag queen. Look at her living her best life, and he's living his best life and doing all that and having so much fun. I want to do that someday, and they're living like vicariously through. Like, you hear stories about it all the time, and not even just me, but like even other people, other queer performers or other drag queens and stuff. So I like to do for the baby gays, and not even the baby gays, the people that never got to come out as well. So many people
are in the process. Even.
People that never will, like because of they're a lot older. There was different times. Like, I can only imagine. Like, it was so difficult for me to tell my parents that I was gay. I knew there wasn't going to be an issue. Like, I have a gay uncle and a gay aunt, but for whatever reason, it was very difficult for me to tell them. I don't know why it was so difficult, but it was just so difficult for me, even though I knew it was going to be all right. And so when I think of times when it was illegal to be gay, illegal to get married, how these men probably ended up just getting married for companionship. Pardon me. Oh, she's belching. Real butch. She's a very butch woman. You can leave that in. I'll let you, Seb. That's good for my reputation. She's real butch, Ariana. And but yeah, like, my heart breaks because you still see them today, and I'm not going to name names, but you see this obvious married man, and I see it camp as Christmas, worse than me, running around. Oh no, they're like, the lie, it's deep in them. They're probably believing it themselves at this point, and it's heartbreaking because they'll probably never come out. But there's people that will come out in their 50s and their 60s now that it's safe to do so, or their parents who are really Catholic have passed. And you hear stories of like nurses and stuff, and people. You hear stories of people like in nursing homes with elderly people, and in their last like hours,
they say,
coming out to them being like, oh yeah, no, I'm X, Y and Z, and they're finally coming out like on their deathbed, like, and stuff, and coming out and telling these mad stories that they couldn't tell anyone else, but they can now because they're going to be brown bread, and it's different times. But yeah, so I do it for myself because I'm mad about myself, and I love the thrill I get from performing, and it makes me feel nice. And obviously it's nice when people cheer and stuff, but I am doing it as well because I want to inspire the little baby fags and baby queers. Just be like, you know, if this 7 foot tall Glamazonian lady man, there she is.
For people who have never heard of Glamazonian, we'll touch on that very shortly.
And for like, if he can go out there or she can go out there and have a ball and have a blast and just be as normal as that and have a great fucking time, surely I can get out of bed this morning. Do you know what I mean? Even like the stupidest things, like if he can go out there in those shoes and that street and not give a shite and dance around like a mad thing and twerk for €5 notes, have a fucking ball, then I can have a shower today. Or I could, cause stupid things, you know, or like just silly things, or I could do that maybe, or maybe not even, like, or go for that job interview, or I don't know. I like to think that's my contribution to the community.
We Seb and myself had a great interview with a man called Richard Moore, who talks about the idea of like a good selfishness and a bad selfishness.
Ooh.
And like basically kind of saying that the good selfishness is where it's good for me and good for other people.
Okay.
So I mean, yeah, I feel good from it, but so do other people, so I can't feel bad about it.
Oh, okay.
This seems like a good selfishness that you're talking about here. It's nice.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of wins.
Yeah. Okay, just before we get on to the very important topics of the dialect that you frequent, I wanted for you to talk about just where you were mentioned before we started, where many people come up to you and tell you like very sincere.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like when I first started drag, I was so surprised. So my usual, well, not so much now, but when I got started and I was trying to get my name out there, I would literally just go to the smoking area of, say, the George or other like places, and I don't smoke. I only smoke the Mickeys. You can leave that in said. I don't smoke, but I'd be out in the smoking area and just networking, adding people on Instagram, talking shite, telling terrible jokes, and getting to know people. But like, I was so shocked at people coming up to me in various states of sobriety and not. Being like, oh yeah, my sister just died, it's my first time out of the house, I'm so happy you're here, I watched RuPaul's Drag Race. They're talking to you like you know them all. Oh, such and such is my favourite drag queen and they brilliant, oh you're brilliant, can we get a picture? And they'll cry. Like, it's just so hard, and like, I don't know what to say. Like, you're trying your best like to console this person you've just met. But like I was saying to you before, there was another situation with a woman, and she was like, yeah, I'm married to a man, but I think I'm a lesbian, and what should I do? And I'm like, oh Jesus, I'm just after getting off stage. No, I wouldn't say that. Like, I'm just after getting off stage. I'm on a high. I'm ready to get locked and palatic now and get a spice bag and go home. And here I have to do couples therapy with this poor woman. I said, leave him. You like the fanny love? No, it's terrible. That's not what I said. But I always just add them on Instagram, like, listen, love, I give whatever, the best advice I can give at that point. I'm like, listen, I'm not a professional, but if you need to have a chat about it, my DMs are open.
Do you think that the people come to you because, pardon the phrasing, like you had the kind of balls to go, this is me expressing myself?
Maybe so.
And that they kind of like aspire to that level of comfortability.
Yeah, I never really thought of it that way, but it does make sense. Like, I always just thought it was a version of, like, an adult version of a party clown. Okay. Or like going to see Santa, and the kids are so excited and they come up and they sit on your lap, but they don't. Well, some of them sit on my lap, but that's a different story altogether. That's a different podcast.
That's a very different
subscribe
podcast.
To my OnlyFans. But yeah, I just feel like it's drag queens are like an adult version of a party clown. But for a kid's birthday or going to see Santa, you come, you tell Santa what you want for Christmas, or you whatever. You take your pictures, XYZ. You have a great time. But like drag, it's an adult version. There's drinks. You're getting locked, there's music, there's partying, but it's very much so a meet and greet in that sense. It's very similar. But yeah, I do feel like people, like, they don't necessarily know you. You don't know, I don't know that woman's husband. It's not as if I'm going to turn around to that woman's husband and be like, your wife's a lesbian. I don't know him. Not that I would anyway, but sure, look, I've accumulated some wisdom in my years on both sides of the gender spectrum now. But I don't know what it is, but I was very shocked at first. To be like, I was very taken aback as someone who was very new to drag anyway. I was like, I was like, what do I do with this information? But I just give them a little hug. I'm like, oh, it's fine, it's okay, it's going to be grand. Like I always say, it always comes out in the wash, and everything's going to be grand at the end. We'll get there in the end.
There's a phrase I've probably mentioned before. It goes, all will be okay, and if it is not okay... No, sorry, all will be okay in the end. And if it is not okay, then it is not the end.
It's cute. It's very nice. Little Hallmark moments. Oh, I knew I had a soft side.
So you mentioned that you're reappropriating. Is it reappropriating? You're taking back.
Oh, like reclaiming. Oh yeah, 100%.
Also, when I was doing a bit of research for this, I came across some words that I did not know initially, and then had to do further research. Judy. Can you expand Judy?
Yeah,
first?
A Judy is just like your good Judy would be like your good friend, your good sister, your good sis, your good squirrel friend. We would say like squirrel friend because we all like nuts. Yeah, so Judy is just like your sis, your little gay friend, your little fag.
Okay. Glamazon bitch.
Yeah, so like a Glamazonian woman, Glamazon bitch would be like a big, tall, voluptuous lady of the night. When you go out and see a drag show, this big, giant monster of a woman comes out, she's a Glamazon.
Okay. I asked you Hoochie Mama.
Hoochie Mama, I think this is like very American or something. I'm not sure. I think a Hoochie Mama, from my understanding, is like maybe a lady of low morals. Like, do you know? But like, we don't kink shame here. Whatever you're into, I can have low morals after the second double vodka 7-Up. But I think it's kind of like the equivalent of what we would call a dirty bleeding who. Or that's what I understand Hoochie Mama to be. I could be wrong, but
okay.
I think that's what that is.
I think, okay, that sounds like a solid interpretation. Meaty tuck.
Okay, so some drag performers, when depending on the costume, I don't tuck all the time because depending on the costume, you don't have to. If you're wearing like a skirt, it's like stunning. But the art of tucking, it's not an art, it's trauma.
Self-imposed trauma.
Self-imposed trauma. It's tucking your testicles up into the little space where they originated before you hit puberty, and like pushing your willy down and then like taping everything back and then throwing on a pair of underwear over and flatten everything down. So it's very uncomfortable. It's not something I like doing often. I only do it when the costume really, really needs it.
Okay.
But like most of my costumes, I try to avoid it because it's very uncomfortable. And when you need to pee, you have to like take the tape off and redo it. But anyway, a meaty tuck is when you have like a meaty pouch there, kind of like that little flabby. I am, for those listening, I am touching this part of my lower stomach. It's like a flabby kind of pouch just above your groin, and yeah, it's quite meaty.
Thank you.
Flabby.
I wanted to ask your opinions on Ariana Grande.
She's a fucking bitch.
No, she's a fraud.
I love her.
Yeah.
I'm actually literally wearing a t-shirt with her on it.
That's it.
Coincidentally. No, but that's where I got my drag name from, because originally that's kind of what I wanted to base my career on, even before I did drag. So she started off in theatre. She started off on Broadway.
Okay.
And then she went into television on Nickelodeon, and then she went into music. So similarly, I started off in theatre as a kid, and then I moved into TV. I was on a TV show called Stage School, only for a season, and then I wanted to move into music. So I've been writing music for a long time, as Neville. Never released anything. I always threatened to release something independently just for the laws and see what would happen. And for the show I was on, I wrote 2 songs for the pilot, and then it got picked up by E4, and then they ended up not using any of the songs I wrote. So I was and then I wrote one for the finale as well, but it wasn't used either. So I was a bit like, ah! But then I have all these songs, but I've kind of rewritten some of them, and I'm going to start releasing them as Ariana. So I have a Christmas single coming out.
Oh,
it's called Santa Come Through.
Santa Come Through.
It's a double entendre. It's like Santa Come Through, but also Santa
Come through. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna. Yes, that's kind of like why I loved Ariana so much, because I kind of started off in theatre, moved into telly, and then went into music. So that's kind of my. Even before I did drag, that one I wanted that to be my Neville. Oh God, that's very unprofessional. I have low battery.
Sorry, I just
sorry, guys.
Sorry, folks.
Sorry, it's my Grindr hookup. I'm getting lashed out in 5 minutes. No, I'm messing. It's
10 minutes.
It's a pandemic. Oh God.
Man, gotta eat.
And oh yeah. So basically, even before I did drag, I wanted that to be my Neville trajectory. But then when drag happened, I was like, no, that could be my drag trajectory. Why not? Let's do all of it at the same time. But yeah, I do love her. I think she's very talented. She's a very talented vocalist. Yeah, she's a great little actress, and she's gorgeous.
Was there, if it wasn't Ariana Grindr, were there seconds and thirds?
Oh, I love that question. So basically, I actually have this conversation with myself now, because I, coming over the next few months, I will be potentially auditioning for the likes of like RuPaul's Drag Race UK.
Cool.
And because Grindr is like a trademarked name, there's a whole thing like the last season of the American RuPaul's Drag Race, they had like a drag queen called Jan Sport.
Okay.
Like the school bags, the Jan Sport school bags, and they had a drag queen called Brita Filter, as in like the Brita filters, like we filter the water. But they had to change their names for the show because of copyright. So it was just Jan, and then Brita. And so I think that might happen to me.
You might be Ariana.
Just Ariana. We'll see. Maybe if I could spell Grindr with an ER instead of just R.
Can you spell it with 2 R's? Or 3 R's?
You heard it? You got the exclusive. Thank you. But this is what I'm going to have to do, like, because I have arianagrinder.com. That's like my website, and I have all my bits and bobs on that. But like, that's not like copyright or anything. But like, this is the thing. Grindr is like a trademark name, so I don't know unless I go to them like, hi, I am very gay. You are very gay. Let's do a deal. No, but this is the thing. Anyway, I'm very much so Ariana Grindr for the foreseeable. But I do think if I was going to change my name, I would love to have just like a, you know, like a Beyonce or like a Gaga, just a one name.
Oh, okay.
Like, because there's some really fab drag queens like on the US version of Drag Race, like Valentina or Aquaria. Oh, yeah. I'd love just like a lovely fancy like one name. It's like, oh yeah, so it's Ariana is like, okay.
It would be nicer maybe if I had like an accent on one of the words.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Then I was thinking something like Scorpia.
Oh.
I like that because I'm Scorpio.
Okay.
Well, like, no, I think I'm going to stick with Ariana Grindr anyway. And even if I have to change it, I love how I've already manifested myself onto this program.
That's happening.
I literally already, I talk about it like it's already happened. Like, when it happens and I get the call, I'm just going to go say my name is Ariana, but leave my name is Ariana Grindr on all my social media and let everyone put two and two together. But you never know.
Okay.
I'm hoping because I think it's a really fun name. And the gays love it because it's like, Ariana is very gay anyway. And Grindr is very, very gay. It's like a gay dating hookup app, so...
Thank you. Before I let you go, we ask our guests how they keep on top of their mental health.
I don't have any. Who is she now? See, the thing is, like, oh my god, I've especially now, like with like the lockdowns and the pandemic, like all of my work is halted. Now, I was very lucky to get like different online jobs and streaming jobs. I got like I got funding from the RuPaul's Drag Race Work the World live stream. They did like a live benefit and then they had someone on to perform with them, which was really good, and like they were sending me money every week for like 2 months.
Wow.
And then I won this other online drag competition and there was like 60 drag queens and there was like a public vote and then I came first and then I won €1,000, so I was very lucky to get that. Wow. I was obviously very talented and I had the best woman won too. Leave that in, Seb. No, well, I was very lucky and grateful to get that. So I was lucky in that respect, but at the same time, like, all of my gigs, like obviously all the bars are closed, hen party, everything is like, that's the only money I've kind of been like, I'm lucky that I'm at home and I don't have to pay rent at the moment because of my situation. And it's shite what happened, but at the same time, like, I'm not going to complain because there's people in horrible situations and I am very lucky. But I do still, even before the pandemic, my own mental health, I'm just like, oh god, sometimes you do have those days and you're like, oh god, I don't want to get up today, what's the fucking point? Or like, you know, when you're just in a humour or a mood, and my thing is what I do, my little go-to is I think of a time when things are absolutely fab and brilliant. For example, like when I won that competition, I go back and I watch the video of my performance and I'm like, yeah, I am that bitch. Like, why are you acting so depressed and like you've lost all belonging to you? And like, look at that fucking mad joke swinging around. People voted for her. You won money. Like, why are you crying? What you crying for? You won! With the Madeline sisters. But like things like that, like looking back at pictures of times in my life when I did something really fab. And I do love that book. I know it's very like In the Sky, and I don't know, I had to say, like, I love that book, you know, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne.
I don't.
It's like a self-help book. Okay. It's like all about like gratitude and like visualising success. Kind of like what I did with the whole, like, I talk about like already being on Drag Race even though I haven't even auditioned yet. Stuff like that, like speaking it into existence. And it's all about kind of just helping yourself, like positive thoughts, like attract more positive thoughts and try put yourself on that wavelength. So I try put myself on a positive thinking wavelength by just when I'm feeling so bad, and it can be so hard, and when someone pisses you off or you've gone in a fight with someone, I try like retrain my brain. Like I'll think of that, like say, like we had an argument just earlier on, like, oh you bollocks, he said this, that and the other, and I swear to God I can't see eye to eye with him. But then even if it's a point where I say to myself, you know what, well, look at it this way, at least you're not like that. At least you didn't inherit them, inherit those characteristics off that person. Or at least you're not racist like that person on Twitter, or at least you're not transphobic like that person that annoyed you on Facebook. At least you're not like that, and you can go around and spread your message. And just stupid things like that, like when you're in bed, I try like think back of the shy things that happened and think about them differently. Like, is there anything from it? And sometimes there isn't, and you have to lie to yourself that there is, but it does make you feel better. Like a reprocessing kind of thing? Yeah, it's just like, you know what, that was a load of shite. I'm raging I missed that event, but sure look, it's gonna help me improve for the next one. Or, yeah, like I don't know, like yeah, you just kind of have to think and just be like, that was a really bad, really bad example. But like, yeah, just like rethink like how you think. Like, yeah, it's sad, I feel shit about it, but at the same time, you probably missed an accident, or you've saved so much money for the next night out, and you can go fucking mental, and you're going to wear that fab outfit, and your future husband probably wasn't going to be out that night, and now you're going to look sickening and have a really nice outfit and not be dying going out, and you're going to meet some fab fella who's going to lash your outfit and
look sickening for those.
Oh yeah, sickeners look fab.
Okay. So fab that you make people feel ill or nauseous.
Absolutely. And you make them sickened so that they don't look that good.
Also, it's twofold.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We love a double entendre. Those cross dressers leading everyone astray.
Well, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Chicken. You're very good. I enjoyed this.
Any final words? We'll provide the links of your respective website.
Viewer discretion is advised. Kidding, but also not. Thank you. No, I just think everyone look after yourselves. It's a crazy weird time. If anything resonated with you, my DMs are open. Please don't be creepy, and I will be very happy to help you. No, but yeah, just look after yourselves. And I would say if you are feeling in any way like low, you can listen to all the advice in the world, but I am not professional. Go speak to your GP. I think it's the best thing to do. One of my good friends is a doctor, and she's just like, speak to your GP. Well, she's technically my GP because I just ring her when I'm feeling in bits. But yeah, if you're feeling in any way, speak to your GP. That's what they're for.
Okay. Thank you. All the best.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Hi guys, thank you for listening to the podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review if you haven't already. Every review helps us climb the podcast charts so that even more of you can listen to our amazing guests. We really appreciate the support. Remember to tune in next week, but until then, keep safe and have a good one.